The sun was just waking when Abdul Rahman, the old gravedigger of the village, picked up his wooden spade and started his slow walk to the cemetery. His feet pressed into the red African soil, and the morning breeze carried the soft call of the birds. He whispered prayers after Fajr, his old voice mixing with the sound of the wind. Today was not like any other day. He had dug many graves before, but this one was for a special woman. She was the Hafiza, the girl who memorized the Holy Qur'an. People respected her. She was known as a teacher, a woman of knowledge. Many children in the village loved her like a mother. When they sat on the ground with slates in their hands, she taught them to recite the words of Allah. She gave sweets after class and told them gentle stories about prophets. But today, she was gone. Death had taken her. In the night, and the village was full of tears. People said, "What a loss. Okay. A woman of the Quran has left us." The whole community was mourning. Abdul Rahman felt the weight of this duty on his shoulders. Digging a grave for such a woman was an honor, but something inside him felt heavy. He could not explain why. His old legs were weak, but it was not just age. It was a strange feeling in his heart, like a warning. He reached the cemetery. The land was quiet. The sun now rose like a ball of fire, and the grass shone with morning dew. Abdul Rahman placed his spade on the ground, removed his slippers, and prayed again for strength. Then he began to dig. But the first strike of his spade hit something hard. He bent down. It was a big stone. He moved it away and struck again. Another stone. He dug and dug, but every time the ground felt heavy like iron. Sweat ran down his face and soaked his gray beard. He paused, wiped his forehead, and looked around. There was no one to help. Double quotes? Ah, why is this soil like this today? He whispered. His heart began to beat faster. He had dug countless graves before, but never had the earth fought him like this. He thought maybe this spot was bad, so he moved to another side of the cemetery. Again, he dug. And again, the same thing happened. The soil was hard, heavy, and full of hidden stones. It was as if the earth itself was saying, "No, not here." Abdul Rahman spat into the dust and kept working. The sun climbed higher, burning his back, but he refused to stop. Finally, after much struggle, he made a hole deep enough for a grave. His old hands shook as he placed his spade down and sat on the ground to catch his breath. He looked at the road leading to the village. A cloud of dust was rising. The funeral was coming. He could hear the low murmur of men's voices, the soft cries of women. Slowly the people arrived, carrying the body wrapped in a white shroud. Children followed behind, reciting the Shahada in trembling voices. Many had swollen eyes from crying all night. They loved her deeply. She was their teacher, their guide. To them, she was like a second mother. Even the old women whispered blessings as they walked. But Abdul Rahman, his heart did not rest. He could not explain it, but something inside told him, "Today you will see something you have never seen before." The body was placed beside the grave. The imam stood ready to lead the prayer. The hot sun looked down on the silent crowd. And deep inside the earth, something unseen was waiting. The sun was now high, and its heat pressed down like fire on the heads of the mourners. The white shroud covering the Hafiza's body shone in the bright light as men lifted her gently and placed her near the grave. Women stood at a distance, their eyes red from tears, while the children huddled together, whispering verses of the Qur'an. The imam raised his hands for the final prayer. His voice trembled as he recited the words. The air was heavy with sadness, but something else was there, to something no one could name. When the prayer ended, the men bent down to lift the body into the grave. Abdul Rahman watched closely, his old hands gripping his spade. His heart was restless, like a drum beaten in the dark. They lowered her slowly, speaking softly. Bismillah, in the name of Allah. The shrouded body touched the bottom of the grave. The men began to pour soil back in. 1 handful, 2 handfuls. Then it happened. The earth shook not at first. It was a small tremor, like the ground was sighing. Then, without warning, a loud hiss tore through the air. From the depth of the grave, a black shadow moved faster than the eye could follow. A snake, but not just a snake. It was huge, thick like a tree branch, and its skin was dark as coal. 2 heads rose from its body, tongues flickering like fire. Women screamed. Children ran in all directions. Even the men stepped back in fear. Abdul Rahman dropped his spade, his mouth open wide. He had seen many strange things in life, but never this. The snake coiled around the white shroud. Then it struck Quaince, twice, 3 times, biting the body again and again. The sound of its hiss filled the cemetery like the roar of an angry spirit. As if that was not enough, the ground opened more. From every side, scorpions crawled out, their tails high like spears. More snakes slithered through the soil. There, black bodies twisting like evil ropes. The grave that was meant to be a place of peace had become a pit of terror. People shouted the Shahada la ilaha illallah. Men tried to pull the body out, but the snake fought them. It held on tight, wrapping around the shroud. It was as if the earth itself did not want to let go of its anger. Finally, after a great struggle, the men pulled the body out. The shroud was torn, and the smell of the earth mixed with something dark, something heavy, like a curse hanging in the air. People stepped back. Silence fell for a moment, broken only by the crying of the women. Faces turned pale. Eyes widened in fear. Whispers began. How can this happen? She was a woman of the Qur'an. What sin could bring this punishment? The Imam raised his voice, trying to calm them. Dig another grave, he ordered. We will bury her again, Abdul. Rahman picked up his spade, his hand shaking. He moved to a new spot and began to dig, sweat running like a river down his back. His old arms trembled with every strike. Finally, he made another grave. The men lowered the body again, praying for mercy. But before they could cover her with soil, the same thing happened. The ground trembled. The earth split. More snakes crawled out. The same black serpent with 2 heads appeared again, its hiss louder than before. Fear spread like fire. Some men dropped their shovels and ran. Others stood frozen, their hearts pounding. The truth was clear. The earth was rejecting her. People looked at the Imam with desperate eyes. What do we do now? They cried. The Imam's face was dark with worry. Take her to the mosque, he said. His voice was heavy. There is something we do not know, and Allah knows best. The men lifted the body and began the slow walk back to the mosque. The air was silent except for the sound of sandals scraping, the dry earth. Behind them, the empty graves lay open like mouths that refused to swallow. And so began the mystery that shook the village to its soul. The sun was sinking behind the tall trees when the men carried the Hafiza's body into the mosque. The mosque was silent except for the sound of footsteps and the soft sobs of women outside. They placed the white-shrouded body in the middle of the floor and sat around it in fear and confusion. The Imam sat down slowly. His face was dark with worry. His lips moved in silent prayer as his mind searched for answers. He had lived many years, but never had he seen a grave reject a body. Never had he seen snakes and scorpions rise from the earth like angry spirits. He looked at the people. My brothers, something is hidden, he said softly. Allah does not punish without a reason. There is a secret here, and we must find it. The people nodded. Some men wiped sweat from their faces, even though the evening wind had cooled the air. Children sat close to their mothers, still shaking from what they had seen. The Imam turned to the children who had learned Qur'an from the Hafiza. Tell me, he said gently, did she ever hurt you? Did she beat you? Did she curse you? Children cried as they spoke. No, Sheikh, they said. She was kind. She smiled at us. She gave us sweets. She told us stories of the prophets. She never raised her hand against us. The imam's heart grew heavier. If she was good to her students, why would her grave turn against her? He raised his hands and prayed, "O Allah, show us the truth. Guide us to the reason for this." Night came slowly, and still the people sat in the mosque, whispering to one another. No one wanted to leave. Fear hung in the air like smoke. Then the imam remembered something. He spoke. Did she have a close friend? Someone who knew her heart? Old woman nodded. Yes, Sheikh. She had a friend. They were like sisters. But they quarreled long ago, and the friend left the village. The imam's eyes narrowed. We must find her. Perhaps she knows what we do not. He chose 2 strong men and said, "Go, search the nearby villages, bring her to us." The men left at once. 2 days passed. The village waited, whispering prayers and watching the white-shrouded body that still lay in the mosque. People came and went, but no one could sleep in peace. Fear was in every heart. On the 3rd day, the men returned. With them was a woman with a tired face and eyes full of tears. Her clothes were dusty from travel. When she entered the mosque and saw the body, she broke down. She fell on her knees and wept loudly. "She was my sister in faith," the woman cried. "We shared everything once." The imam raised his hand for silence. His voice was calm but strong. "My daughter," he said, "you knew her well. Tell us the truth. For the sake of Allah, tell us what you know." The woman's lips trembled. She covered her face with her scarf and shook her head. "I do not want to speak," she whispered. "You must speak." The imam said, "The grave has rejected her. Snakes and scorpions came out. There is a reason. If you know, tell us." The mosque became silent. Every eye watched her. The wind outside whistled through the trees like a warning. The woman's hands dropped slowly. Tears ran down her cheeks. Her voice broke as she said she did something. Something that made Allah angry. The people leaned closer. The imam spoke softly. What did she do? The woman cried louder. She sinned against the one who gave her life, against the one who carried her in the womb. She sinned against her mother. The mosque shook with gasps. Men covered their faces with their hands. Women outside began to weep louder. The imam closed his eyes, his heart heavy with fear. And then the truth came like a knife. The mosque was silent. Even the sound of the wind outside seemed to stop. Every ear waited for the woman to speak. Her hands shook as she wiped her tears, her voice heavy with pain. She did something. The woman whispered, her eyes fixed on the white shroud, something that made the earth close its doors to her, something that brought snakes from the ground. The imam leaned forward, his voice calm but firm. "Tell us, my daughter. For the sake of Allah, speak the truth. This is the only way to save her." The woman's lips trembled. She was a good teacher. She prayed, she fasted, she taught Qur'an. But there was one thing that destroyed everything. The people moved closer, their hearts pounding. The old women outside pressed their ears to the windows. Children clung to their mother's clothes, their eyes wide with fear. She sinned against her own mother, the woman said at last. The one who carried her for 9 months. The one who gave her milk when she was small. When her mother grew old and weak, she lost her patience. She became angry. She shouted at her. She cursed her in moments of anger. And in her mother's last days, she left her alone and refused her care. Gasps filled the mosque. Men lowered their heads in shame. Women began to cry. Someone whispered Astaghfirullah. May Allah forgive us. The imam's face was dark with sorrow. His voice trembled as he said, "This is the reason. Paradise lies at the feet of the mother. Allah forgives many sins, but He does not forgive disrespect to parents unless they forgive." She memorized the Qur'an, but she failed the greatest duty, kindness to her mother. Tears ran down many faces. Fear gripped every heart. The Imam raised his hands and said, "O Allah, have mercy on her soul. Forgive her. Forgive us all." They prayed long into the night. The sound of voices calling on Allah filled the mosque. But even as they prayed, the lesson burned in their hearts like fire. A person can pray, fast, and read the Qur'an. But if they hurt their parents and do not repent, their good deeds may turn into dust. The next morning, the villagers buried her far away from the graveyard. They dug deep and prayed for Allah's mercy. No snake came this time. No scorpion crawled out. The earth accepted her at last. When it was done, the people walked back in silence. The story spread from one village to another like the harmattan. Wind elders told it to the young. Mothers told it to their children at night, and every time they told it, their voices carried the same warning. Do not hurt the one who gave you life. Do not raise your voice to the one who raised you. The smile of your mother can open the gates of heaven for you. Her tears can close them forever. That evening, the Imam stood before the people and said, "My brothers and sisters, remember, this Allah knows what is hidden. Even if the world praises you, even if you are called pious, Allah sees your heart. He sees how you treat your parents. Never forget, paradise is under the feet of your mother." The people bowed their heads and whispered, "Ameen." The children looked at their mothers with new eyes. Men went home and kissed the hands of their old parents. Women wiped tears as they remembered their mother's love. And from that day, no one in the village forgot the grave of the Hafiza and the snakes that rose from the earth. It became a story told for generations, a story that warned every soul: respect your parents, honor them, love them. Before the earth turns against you,